What is up, YouTube? Daniel here, and you are tuned into my channel, Life with Dan, where we go into different business topics like stock market investing, entrepreneurship, finance, life decisions, etc. For this week's video, guys, it's going to be very similar to the last one that I did. I'm going to be sharing my phone screen with you guys this time. For this week's video, what I decided to do is go into how to buy stocks on the Robinhood app and the different options for doing so. I realized I haven't really gone into the basics of how to work the app and things like that, the basics of buying and selling. I've just kind of been focused on individual stocks. So little by little, I'll start doing content like this for those of you that have been wanting to invest, maybe particularly using Robinhood, and that haven't gotten around to it maybe because you just don't know how the app works yet. So that's what we're going to be doing in this week's video. FYI, before we get into it, it's not going to be my own Robinhood account that we're going to be looking through. I'm going to be using my wife's account to navigate the app and whatnot. And the reason for that is because I don't think I'm quite ready to just be showing my entire Robinhood profile. Although I've shown the majority of what I've got, I do want to keep some cards up my sleeve for content down the road. So just being upfront with you guys, that's the reason why we'll be looking through a different account. Let's not waste any more time, guys. We're going to go into how to buy stocks on Robinhood right after the intro. Alright guys, so to go ahead and get started here, we'll go ahead and pull up the Robinhood app. Like I said, we will be using my wife's account today, and it is a significantly smaller account. She doesn't do very much investing. I think I got her to buy on like 2 or 3 different occasions. I'm still working on getting her into it a little more, but she has done pretty well with the few investments that she did allow me to convince her into. So she has Starbucks and Apple, as you guys can see there. And I think I got her, got her in at 72.51, and she's up about 35% almost on Starbucks. And then on her 4 shares of Apple, she is up almost 30%, average cost 92.44. So she did pretty good on those. Still working on getting her into it more, guys. Work in progress. But anyway, so we're going to be covering how to buy stocks on this app, and we'll go ahead and use Starbucks as our volunteer for this video. So as you see on the bottom right there, it says trade on that green button. That button follows you wherever you scroll on any particular stock because it's the main button to use. So when you click on it, you see that you have 2 options, to sell or to buy. For this video, we're going to focus on the options with regards to buying. So when you click that, this is the standard default option for buying any particular stock that'll pop up. You have number of shares, market price, which is the exact price that that stock is trading at right then and there. And then depending on what number you put in, it'll give you your estimated cost. So this is the standard way of doing it. I want X number of shares and it's going to cost me this much. I want it right now, right then and there. There's other options that you can see on the top right there. It says shares and it looks like there's a drop down menu. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And when we do, you can see that there are a few options. There's a lot going on here, but when we focus on the categories available, we see there are 2, market order and conditional orders. Now, market order, we see that there are 2 options, buy in dollars and buy in shares. So a market order, guys, is a straight up right then and there purchase. If you're doing a market order, you are trying to buy whatever stock you're looking at right then and there. We already looked at buy in shares, which is buying an exact number of shares. You pay the price that is trading right then and there, and it'll tell you how much it's going to cost. But as you can see here, there's also the option to, and there's the closing bell. So that's pretty fun. It is 3 o'clock on the West Coast. That means we can no longer buy. So anyways, the buy in dollars option that you see up there with the market orders, it says buy Starbucks in any dollar amounts starting at $1. So what's very cool is that you actually have the option to buy a set dollar amount of any particular stock rather than having to buy an exact number of shares. This works great if you're trying to invest a specific amount. Right now, for example, Starbucks is trading in the 90s, right? So to buy 2 of those, you'd have to cough up about 180. Maybe you've only got 150 to put in. So buying in dollars gives you the option to do that. You can actually end up with decimal point amount of shares. You can have 5.24 shares of Starbucks. You can see if you were to put 150, you'd have 1.534526 shares. So this is pretty cool because it gives people the option to invest with any amount. As we noticed when we were reading the description, it said starting at $1. So this gives people the option to buy any amount of a stock so that you don't have to cough up the whole price. Now you don't have to pay several hundreds of dollars to own 1 share of Tesla. You can put in $50 of Tesla if you want. So that's market orders, guys, buying in exact numbers of shares or buying in a specific dollar amount. Now down here, we see our conditional orders. Now a conditional order is, I want to buy this stock, but under these terms, under this specific condition. It's basically not a right then and there purchase. It's a special type of purchase. So the first one that we see there is a recurring investment. Now this is a pretty standard thing. Think of making an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account. A recurring investment is very similar. When you click on it, it pops up an investment schedule. You have the option to do daily, weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly investments. And depending on whatever one you click, you can pick where it starts, as you can see there on the Starts Tuesday. If you were to go, for example, with the daily option or a weekly option, you could set it to start on a specific day. So if we hit daily, you can pick what day it's going to start on, change that and whatnot. See, if you do the weekly, right now it's set to Tuesday, but you can change that to whatever you want it to be. So pretty cool thing. Very similar to moving money from a bank account to another one. This works very well if you're maybe like investing into a dividend stock, say like a Verizon, a stock that doesn't do too much moving. A recurring investment is a pretty good thing if you're trying to just continually build into a position. That way you just continually do it. You don't have to worry about it. It just does it on its own. Very cool feature, especially for dividend stocks. The next one down here we've got is a limit order. As you see there, it says buy Starbucks at a maximum price or lower. This is when you want to buy a stock. Here we're using Starbucks, right? And here it gives you a little graph to show you pretty much what it is. You want to buy a stock, but not at the price that it's currently going for. So as I read the description there, set the limit price or the maximum price at which you're willing to buy Starbucks. In our example, your order will only be executed at your limit price or lower. So if you're wanting a stock to go down so that you can buy it at a cheaper price, you can set a limit order. As you guys can see there, the stock is declining, and it finally hits that peak. Once it hits that peak or the limit price, Robinhood knows to trigger a buy at that price for you. So an example here, we're watching Starbucks trade at $97.75. I might say I want to only pay $88 per share. So that's one way of doing it. You can set a limit order, and it sets it so that you don't have to exactly pay that amount. And here it asks you what trading hours you want it to execute at, market hours or extended hours. Market hours for investing, for those of you that don't know, basically just means business hours for a regular trading day. On the West Coast, that's 6:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. On the East Coast, that's going to be 3 hours later than that, obviously. Extended hours is a half hour before business hours start and 2 hours after. I don't know why there's market and extended. I don't know why it's not just one thing, but that's pretty much how it goes. And then after you set that, depending on which one you picked, it'll ask you, how long is this going for? Is it good for just one day? Or do you want it to go for up to 90 days? You can set it. So, because maybe that stock isn't going to go down to the price you're looking for today. So you could say, oh, leave it for 90 days. I'm patient. I'm hoping that it'll go down and hit that price at some point in the next, 3 months. So that's a limit order, guys. It's a pretty cool way of getting into a stock at a cheaper price. You don't have to do that right away, but you also don't have to stay staring at the Robinhood app waiting for the stock to hit that price. You can just set the limit order, and it knows to do it once that price finally comes up. Now, the next three that we see here are trailing stop order, and stop limit order. So that we don't get confused, we'll go ahead and look at stop order first. It says if Starbucks rises to a fixed stop price, trigger a market buy. So it's pretty much the opposite of a limit order. You can actually tell by looking at the little pictures here, but the diagram will pretty much show us it's literally the opposite. You're setting a price, you're setting a purchase for when the price goes up to a certain price. That sounded a little confusing. You are setting a stop price in order to buy the stock at a higher price. As I read the description there, set a fixed stop price above the current price of Starbucks. A market buy order is then triggered when Starbucks rises to the stock price or higher. So instead of a limit order where you're saying, I want to buy Starbucks, but at a cheaper price, you're saying, I'll buy Starbucks, but at a more expensive price. Now, you might be asking yourself, why the heck would someone want to buy a stock at a more expensive price? What might be happening here, you might want to do a stop order, for example, if you're watching a stock that's been pretty stagnant, that's done nothing, and maybe you're anticipating a big announcement that will move the stock. Maybe you're anticipating a good earnings report and you're thinking there's going to be a big move in a stock. Stop orders are basically bets on stocks moving up and trying to catch them at the bottom of that move up. If you notice on the diagram there, it kind of like shows the green continuing on forward. The idea behind a stop order is this stock is going to move soon, so I'll set the price a little bit higher since it hasn't been doing much lately so that I catch it at the beginning of that jump, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why you would do a stop order. Limit order, maybe you're anticipating it to go down or you just don't want to pay that much. Stop order, you're like, I think it's going to move up soon or eventually. It would have to be within 90 days because that's as long as you can set it for. And you're thinking it's going to move up and you want to catch it at the beginning of that move. That would be an example of when you do a stop order. Not something I would really recommend. It is a bit complicated. And it only gets more complicated. As we see here, a trailing stop order. It says if Starbucks rises above its lowest price by a specific amount, trigger a market buy. So that's a little bit more complicated even. And we'll go ahead and look at the diagram here. So as you see, the stock price goes down. It kind of makes a rebound, and then that's when something's triggered. So I'll read the description. The stop price follows or trails the lowest price of Starbucks by a trail that you set. A market buy is then triggered when Starbucks rises to the stop price or higher. So you basically set two things in here, guys. You set a stop price and then you set a market order at a price once that stop price is triggered. And this is basically trying to catch a bottom. What is a bottom? It's when a stock is downtrending, right? So let's say a stock has just been continually going down for weeks on end or months on end or whatever. And then it finally hits a bottom where it's no longer going to continue going down, and rather it's either going to just go stagnant now or make some kind of rebound. You might want to do a trailing stop order to kind of catch a bottom, and then once it starts rebounding, jump in at that point. That's kind of what I think of when I think of someone doing a trailing stop order. It's like this stock's going to continue going down, but I'm going to set a stop price for when it starts to rebound a bit. And at that point, I would like to get in to hopefully catch a big rebound. Now, a stop limit order, last one so we can cover all of them. It's basically setting a fixed stop price above the current price of Starbucks, at which point a limit buy order is triggered when Starbucks rises to the stop price or higher. That was a mouthful. Basically, it's setting two things, a stop price and then at that point triggering a limit order. What's a limit order? It's when you say, I want to buy this stock, but not at this price. I want it to go cheaper. So it's pretty complicated, but you're setting the stop price to track a stock that's going up. Once it's hit a certain height in price, that's when you're triggering your stop price. And at that point, you're saying, okay, it's gotten too high. I think it's going to correct. So I'm going to set the limit price, which is way below where it's at now. And that's where I would want to jump in. So you're basically anticipating the end of a bull run for a stock and hoping to get in as it goes down. Sounds like a heck of a lot and it's pretty confusing, and that's exactly what I think. So most people, guys, most investors, you're going to stick in the market orders, these ones up here. You're not going to really do too many conditional orders. The conditional order that I really only ever do is a limit order, is if I'm looking at a stock but I anticipate it's going to go down or I just want it to go down, and that's the price at which I'll pay. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are the ways to buy stocks on the Robinhood app. It's a bit complicated when you get into the conditionals, but market's pretty straightforward. Like we saw, you can buy in dollars, you can buy in shares. To go back to it here, dollars and then shares. So those are the most common ones, obviously, because it's pretty straightforward what you do with them. And then the conditionals, you know, it's just added power that you have as an investor. They are complicated, but they are pretty interesting in that they give you a lot of power and capability with regards to how to buy into stocks. But that's about it, guys. That wraps it up for how to go about buying stocks on the Robinhood app and the different ways to do so. You know, as you go throughout your investor career, those types of orders will make more and more sense, especially as you start using them. So, but it's just nice that Robinhood and different investment platforms give so many options with regards to how to buy. If you guys are interested in more Robinhood type videos where I go through different things on how to navigate the app and maybe a sell video, maybe different things like that, how to read data, leave a comment down below and let me know, or hit me up on Instagram via DM if you want to see something like that. But other than that, that's everything I've got for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you found any value in the video, please do me the favors of hitting the like and subscribe buttons so that I can continue to grow this channel and continue to put out content. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Until next week, this is Life with Dan.